Damn, I need some tank tops. I don't have anything to wear. It's so freaking hot outside. Good thing I have time on my hands and creativity. Hello, spooky people. It is Lilith, and welcome back to my channel. Today, I'll be sharing with you how I made 4 different tank tops. It is so freaking hot where I live, and I wear tank tops pretty much every day. I rifled through all of my clothes of things I didn't wear, and I made some new tank tops. I hope that you enjoy these crafts and that they can give you some inspiration to do some cool, affordable DIY fashion. I think that these styles can be done either in a way that is masculine or feminine. I would say some of them are even androgynous. I'm non-binary, so I kind of like to switch it up. But regardless of how you like to dress or present yourself, I think that there are some good options here for everybody. For this first shirt, I cut up this one that I had thrifted a while ago. I love this color, but not the fit. It's not good on me. I looked around on Pinterest for some inspiration, and I really love these shirts that I found. I have this patch I've had for a while, and I took this flannel that I had thrifted, and I'm basically just using it for fabric, and I'm going to put a patch underneath this patch. I measured the patch that I had to decide how big my piece of flannel needed to be. I ended up deciding to do an extra inch on each side to create a plaid border around the whole thing. I'm using a quilting pencil. These are super handy for sewing projects. You can basically write on the fabric and all of the marks are washable. Lately, I've been really into mixing patterns into my style. I've really been gravitating towards plaid and cheetah print. I feel like it just adds a lot of personality to your outfits, especially when you can mix them together. It's been a lot of fun adding variety to my style that way, because for the longest time, I only wore black. I measure out the straps out of this eyelet material that I already had. I actually had bought this for another project, and I'm glad I've already found something else to use it for. One of my go-to crafting hacks for clothing is just to throw an item that I already like on top of whatever it is I'm doing to figure out the measurements for it. I add a little bit of extra when I cut the bottom off of this shirt because I know this stretchy material is going to roll at the bottom, and that's going to get rid of some of the length. It'll naturally curl up on its own, but I'm just pulling the fabric to get it started. Now that I have all of the separate pieces cut out, I can start figuring out the layout for the shirt and pinning everything down to be sewn. This halter top design with the straps was really easy to pull off. This was super simple, and I liked how the black in the straps tied in the black from the plaid. Of course, I had to bring in the sides because the fit on this thing was not working for me. I usually measure stuff like this, but I just eyeballed it this time and it worked out just fine. Using a zigzag stitch helps the fabric still be able to stretch. After sewing the patches together with a straight stitch, I go ahead and zigzag stitch the whole thing onto the front of the shirt. One thing I do when sewing rectangular pieces of fabric like this is at the corners, I'll keep my needle down and pull my presser foot up and just rotate the fabric to turn the corner. If you don't have a sewing machine, I think this would be a really great beginning sewing project. I think this whole thing you could finish in an afternoon pretty easily. You'll have to wait till the end of the video to see the final result. In my hoard of random clothes was this failed sewing project. I tried to bring in the sides with green thread. I don't know why I did that, but I seam ripped it all. We're not going to talk about how dirty this shirt is. I grabbed it out of the laundry, but I'm using it to basically create a template for where I'm going to cut the armholes out on this shirt. I've had this Thrasher shirt since high school and I love the way it fits on me, so I'm trying to replicate that here. After I cut off one arm, I put the other one down and use that as a template so that it's going to be even on both sides. When I say it's hot outside, I am not screwing around. It's horrible. I'm cutting the bottom off of all these shirts. I'm so fancy. I have a microphone now. This next step, you need a thing, but you don't have to have the thing. It's this. This is really great to have if you do any kind of like sewing or costuming stuff. It's an eyelet press. I like this one because you can change the fittings on it, and you can do eyelets, studs, snaps. Like if you wanted to do like a snap to close something on fabric, you can do all of that. There is another tool that you can use for this. Here is a picture of said tool, which is just basically like the manual version of this. I recommend if you see yourself doing like clothing related crafting, I would invest in one of these. The eyelets will turn out a lot better with this because with the other tool you're like hammering it by hand, and I've done this for years and with the hand press, and it's really easy to screw them up, and then you got to start over. This makes it a lot more consistent. So I would recommend one of these if you can get your hands on. They're like 20 or 30 bucks.
In my search for inspiration, I found this really cool shirt. I like the studs on the neckline, and I'm doing that here with the eyelets. I'm testing out the layout. I'm not getting too precise or measuring anything. I used an awl to poke the holes for the fabric because when you're making eyelets in a shirt that's stretched, you don't want to make the hole too big because the eyelet can slip out. I'm turning the shirt inside out so that the ugly part of the eyelet's on the inside. With the hardware, I'm basically making like a little sandwich. You have one piece of the ring, then your shirt, and then the other piece of the ring, and that's what's going to hold onto the fabric. Then I'm just pressing all those eyelets in. If you made it this far in the video, consider leaving a like. I really appreciate it. It takes a lot of work to put these DIY videos together. I'm happy to share them with you. Let the YouTube algorithmic gods know that you like what you're seeing. After all those eyelets are in, my second custom shirt is done.
Guys, I got a new tripod too. So now I can film straight down instead of at an angle. Lots of upgrades here at Dark Devotion. For this next shirt, I did some measuring, but things happened, you know.
The inspiration for this next shirt, I believe, is a vintage lip service shirt. I know this is on some people's ISO. I'm obsessed with it. This flannel is getting run through. We are harvesting fabric once again. I'm cutting strips of fabric that are 4 inches wide. For the way I'm making these straps, they need to be 4 times what the final length will be. I ended up making 4 of them that were 20 inches long.
Since this whole video is in the spirit of not having to buy stuff, not having to go get anything to do this, I brought out this fabric, thrifted this specifically in mind to have plaid fabric to use. You could buy basically a strap like this, like from the, like as a sewing notion, like at the fabric store. But with this, you can basically do any fabric that you want, you can turn into a strap. It has to be 4 times the width of what your strap is going to end up being, because we're going to fold it into the middle and then in half, and then top stitch down it. This looks really nice, and you'll see after I iron it and I press it down, it looks real professional looking, and it's really not that hard to pull off.
If there's a name for this technique, I don't know what it is. If you know, please let me know down in the comments. I'm basically folding the sides into the middle and then folding it in half. This seals the edges of the fabric on the inside. Using another dirty shirt from my hamper to use as a template. The shirt I'm using for fabric wasn't necessarily a craft fail, but just something I wasn't using. For the top, I'm doing a super basic hem. I'm just folding the edge down and then sewing it with a straight stitch. I could do a fancier hem, but I won't. And then top stitching down either side of all of the straps. Once again, I'm bringing it in on the sides with a zigzag stitch to make it fit better. I'm trying it on here to figure out where I want the straps and the hardware to end up. I highly recommend trying on your projects as you go to test the fit. I also figure out how long I want it to be.
Folks, there in fact has been a miscalculation, and it just happens to be one of my most common foibles when sewing. I didn't account for seam allowance. All the body part of the tank went perfectly fine. What I failed to do was leave enough seam allowance for the straps. I have 4 of these, which on their own, there's enough length here to get from the bottom all the way around the top. But the thing is, to do this, I'm folding over the bottom to basically hold on to the hardware. When you add that up, that's like an extra 4 inches that I need to be on the back of these straps so that they can hold on to the hardware. Take it from me, and you're going to do this to your measurements if you do end up making something like this. I ended up with 40 inches of this strap. I should have made like maybe 1 extra. And now I'm like, I've already, pressed and sewn and folded all of these. I don't really want to start over. So I'm just going to kind of like
just muscle through it and it's gonna be tight, but I think I can make it work. So take it from me, just make extra, especially with shit like this, because it's annoying to go back and like make more of it afterwards if you have to. This is definitely one of my favorite parts of sewing. I love pressing seams. It's just so satisfying and it makes it look so nice and smooth. After this, I'm cutting off the bottom where I had marked it when I was trying it on. Once again, throwing a very simple hem on this, because I am what? A lazy crafter. Time to connect all this hardware to the strap. I'm marking out 2 centimeters between each of these holes, and the space in between is where the O-ring is going to go. Honestly, I would recommend making the space between the holes bigger, but I couldn't because I was stressing about how much of this strap I had left. To add the snaps, we're sandwiching the front and the back half of them together and then squeezing them down with the press. I would recommend sewing a hem on the back here, but I just cut off the corners so it won't be visible from the front. The fabric might fray at the end of the strap, but it just makes it more punk rock, so whatever. I'm then adding another O-ring on the other end of the front strap. Initially, I wanted 2 O-rings in the front and 2 O-rings in the back, but because I was running low on the strap, I ended up just doing the one in the front. To finish these off, I add a strap to the other side of one of the rings. There's a shorter and a longer strap on either side of the middle ring. One of my least favorite parts of sewing is having to pin everything down and zhuzh everything and make sure it's in the right spot. This usually takes me a while because it feels kind of final. I'm then just tacking the straps down with a couple of stitches in a few spots.
Our 4th and final tank top I've actually already made, but I'll show you some of the process in these videos. Essentially, I just cut this heat press vinyl out with my Cricut cutting machine. Even if you do not have a Cricut machine, there are other ways to achieve this kind of graphic technique. I will be making a follow-up video to this one about how to get graphics onto fabric. I have a few different methods that I've used for this over the years, things that are good for people with different amounts of equipment. So if like you don't have a printer, or if you don't have a Cricut or some other piece of shirt making technology, I'll show how to do it basically with nothing, all the way up to kind of the more highfalutin stuff that I do just because I'm a crafter. I have some gadgets now. Basically like a patch video. I'll show you on patches, but it'll apply to t-shirts or whatever you would want to put a design on. I do have a video that I've already posted on making a jacket. I need to redo it. It's kind of rough. It's an older video, but the idea is there. If you want to go ahead and watch it, all of the information I'm sharing there is basically the same. But yeah, this one, I love how it turned out. I actually made this at my arts and crafts night that I host. And now it's time for you to see the final product. So y'all, those were our tank tops. I hope that you found some inspiration here for some cool, affordable clothing projects. But let me know down below which one was your favorite. I like different things about each of them, and I think I'm gonna get a lot of wear out of these pieces. And if you've made it to the end of this video, thank you for sticking around. And if you stuck around this long, you might as well go ahead and subscribe. There'll be more DIYs and alternative crafty goodness to come. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye bye.